You should have, you should get a button here that lets you select if you want to continue. If you don't wish to be recorded, you can drop off right now. We suggest that you put yourself in speaker view. That will highlight the speaker in your main window. You can just go up into the right-hand corner under the view button. If you have any questions today, we're going to be happy to take your questions. Just use the raise hand button, which is down in the reactions screen, down kind of the lower middle of your screen. Or if you can just type your questions in the chat box. So I would like to begin with a land acknowledgement from UCSC, and let me just put that up here. So the land on which we gather is the unceded territory of the Awaswas-speaking Yupi tribe, the Amamutsan tribal band, comprised of descendants of indigenous people taken to missions Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. So this session, the 2021 Alumni Summer Career Series, it consists of 6 panel discussions. Through the session, though the sessions build off of each other, they can be utilized as standalone sessions. Those who attend the whole series will travel through the career process from the developing a strategy stage to the I have a job, now what stage. With each session, we hope you will find useful tips and strategies that prepare you to launch your career search or begin a new career, all the while providing you opportunities to network with and receive support from fellow banana slugs like us. Our session today will focus on where to begin and how these strategies have changed with the remote job market. Let me just introduce our speakers today. If you could wave when I introduce your name. So Surreal Brookins is graduated Stevenson College in 2019. Surreal majored in intensive psychology and critical race and ethnic studies with an emphasis on the African diaspora. During her time at UCSC, Surreal was part of many organizations such as the Martin Luther King Jr. Convocation Planning Committee, Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Critical Race and Ethnic Studies Student Working Groups, Humanities Undergraduate Student Committee, Student Health Outreach and Promotion, Black Sisters United, and much more. Since her recent graduation, she is now the academic advisor for the University of Maryland College Park at their Shady Grove campus, and previously held the role as a student success coach at the University of Maryland Global Campus. In her free time, she is involved with the UCSC Alumni Council, spending time with her fur baby Twinkie and going to weekly karaoke nights. You can contact her on LinkedIn and on the UCSC Career Advice Network. Myself, my name is Mike Reapy. I graduated from Oaks College in 1991 with a Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. In 1998, I earned a PhD in electrical engineering from the University of Michigan. My specialty is in the area of electronic design automation software for FPGAs and VLSI integrated circuits. I'm also interested in architectures and compilers for machine learning acceleration processors. I'm currently a senior principal engineer at Achronix Semiconductor in Santa Clara, California. You can contact me on LinkedIn and the UCSC Career Advice Network as well. And I'll mention that I am hiring software engineers if anybody's interested. In our breakout rooms, besides myself, you'll meet Joanna Rodriguez, Oaks College 2014. She earned her Bachelor of Art degree in politics and a minor in legal studies. Joanna is a Los Angeles native who grew up in Los Angeles Watts neighborhood. After college, she interned for Los Angeles City Council member Joe Buscaino, assisting in daily operations of the office and event organizing. She spent almost 4 years working for San Jose City Council member Tam Nguyen, working on neighborhoods, gang prevention, code enforcement, housing and homelessness, and public safety issues. For the past 3 years, she has served as the Watts and Harbor representative for Mayor Eric Garcetti. You can contact Johanna on LinkedIn. Maybe someone can pop that in the chat box. And finally, also in the breakout room, you'll meet Tom Green, Kresge College 82. He received a BA in physics from UCSC and a PhD in astronomy from the University of Arizona, and is now an astrophysicist in the Space Science and Astrobiology Division at NASA's Ames Research Center in Mountain View. He conducts observational studies of exoplanets and young stars and develops astronomical technologies and instrumentation. Before joining NASA, he worked in the semiconductor manufacturing industry in Silicon Valley, was on the faculty of the University of Hawaii, served on the staff of the NASA Infrared Telescope Facility and worked on astronomical observatories at the Lockheed Martin Advanced Technology Center in Palo Alto. He is a co-investigator on the NIRCam and MIRI science instruments of the James Webb Space Telescope. While at NASA Ames, he has served as the director of the Ames Center for Exoplanet Studies, project scientist of the SOFIA mission, and chief of the astrophysics branch. So without further ado, Cyril, turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Mike. Hello, everyone. As introduced, my name is Cyril. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you and get this started. Can everybody see my screen okay? I can't really see too many people's faces. Everybody's hiding today. Hey, awesome. All right, so I am Cyril. Thank you, Mike, again for the introduction. I graduated from Stevenson 2019. Happy Wednesday, first and foremost. Happy or good afternoon from the east, good morning on the west. So I'm gonna go ahead and briefly talk a little bit about my career development and how I started, where I'm at now, and how that's kind of shifted and just how to maybe kickstart your career.
Oh, Cyril, we do see this in like presentation mode. We can see your counter in the slide. So it's not on the main slide. You might have to dismiss that, yeah. We see your notes too, yeah.
Oh, it shouldn't be showing. Let me try one more time. Okay, how's that?
There, that looks good. Thank you. Sorry for the interruption.
That's better.
Okay, you can't see my notes. Great.
Oh, your notes are back. Sorry.
Okay. Whatever. I don't need them.
Dismiss that maybe if you.
Okay, so I'm gonna do this without my notes because I don't need them. So like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about that. So I am limited on time, so if you could please keep your questions till the end or just put them in the chat and I'll go ahead and answer them, or you can take your time to ask me them during the breakout room. So I graduated college in 2019. I had a plan. I feel like that's a lot of people's goal. Like I graduated 1 or 2 degrees, maybe 3. The goal is get the interview, I'm gonna get hired and I'm gonna live my best life, right? However, reality, this is really how it happened. So I was actually unemployed overnight. At Santa Cruz, I was very, very busy. I had like 7 to 10 jobs at one point, and I was really excited for the real world, as people always threw in my face, because I'm like, yeah, no problem. I've been doing it big since I got here. I'm gonna do it big when I leave. Unfortunately, when I graduated, I was unemployed, and that was really, really hard to deal with. And so that's something that I hope that recent graduates will be okay with, because that's totally normal. So just a little bit of background about how I kind of got to where I'm at now. So I did UC-DC, a 3-month program in DC where you do an internship. And basically before I graduated college, I was pretty sure I secured a job at Georgetown University. And I was really excited. Basically, it's a big psych. I didn't get the job. I was one of the 2 top candidates. And I feel like after that happened, I went into a really long period of self-reflection and a lot of self-doubt. I was really sad. I felt like, you know, how do I graduate from school and then not land a job? How did I think I had it, but it got pulled away so fast? And I feel like that was when reality, like I said, really hit. And I was like, wow, like this isn't going to be as easy as I thought it would be. However, this really did show me that whatever is meant for you is meant for you, and it will find you, or you'll find it. So with that being said, I knew I wanted to be on the East Coast so bad. And I was very scared. But something my dad has told me my whole life growing up is feel the fear and do it anyway. So what did I do? I moved across the country with no job and savings, but housing, which is great. So like I said, I'm going to talk a little bit about pre-pandemic and how I started to kickstart my career, especially with things being open at that time. So for me, when I moved across the country, freaking out, like I don't have a job, but I know it's going to work out. I pretty much use LinkedIn every day. And I say be nosy. When I say be nosy, I mean, look up the jobs that you want to have, right? Find people who are in those roles on LinkedIn. And this sounds really out there, but put yourself out there. And you want to send messages like this. Hey, thanks for the connection. I appreciate it. I've seen your work, blah, blah, blah. You're in a position I want to be in. Can you do an informational interview? This is a real example. This is before I even graduated college, and the person did in fact respond, and we had an informational interview. This is another example. This is probably a little more specific, but point being, you want to reach out to people, whether that's UCSC alumni or just people in the roles that you want to be in. Something else that worked for me was vision boards. Sometimes seeing that every day, every other day, wherever in a closet is extremely helpful, and it keeps your eye on the prize, as they say. Utilizing your alumni. So attending events like this, highly recommend. Using the career advice platform, I joined that as soon as I graduated. And it's really awesome to get back, one, and two, you meet a ton of people and it matches you with people who have very similar things that you're interested in. Another thing is obviously ask for advice, whether it's from your parents or from alumni, from friends, from family, strangers, you never know. Something that I really learned from my mentors who are also within the UCSC Alumni Network is to have resume and cover letter variation. So if you're looking at government jobs, you want to have a cover letter and a resume that kind of fits towards that, versus if you're also applying to nonprofits where their morals and values are kind of like, oh, we don't really trust the government or whatever the case may be. You want to have something that fits that as well. So I probably have like 5 or 6 different versions of my resume and of my cover letter. Building interview skills is also something that's really, really important, and you can do that through the advising platform. So I was employed December 2019, I got employed. How did that happen? Through LinkedIn. Like I said, I was doing informational interviews. I also made it a goal to apply to at least 10 jobs every single day. You can ask my mother. I was freaking out. I was like, I'm just gonna keep applying. And given that it was pre-pandemic, how it started was wonderful. I was meeting students in person, advising them, helping them through their degrees, whatever it may be, undergraduate, grad. And you get free school at some schools that you work at, because like Mike introduced, I did work at a university. So that was great. However, how it ended was that actually the pandemic happened and everything went remote, and it totally shifted everything. I felt very drained. I felt very zoomed out. If that's a term everybody's familiar with. So when you go to a ton of Zoom meetings every day, all day, and you're like, all right, I get it. Make it an email. So I pretty much got used to being heavily like micromanaged, and it got to a point where I was like, I don't think this is the job for me. How do I expect to go to grad school with be this stressed? How do I expect to get these things done outside of work when like this whole pandemic really messed things up for me? So what I learned from that position after knowing I wanted to leave was to learn about yourself professionally. The questions you want to ask yourself are, what are the environments that I thrive in? What are the management styles that I can work with, that I can't really work with? And how much time do I need, not want, but need every day to commit to myself, my growth, my goals, and just my personal well-being and my hobbies. Finding hobbies is really important, whether that's playing guitar, listening to music, reading a book in nature, whatever it may be. You want to find those as well. Make sure that you find time for yourself, because this remote stuff is no joke. So when I knew I wanted to get a new job, what was I doing during COVID? I was still using LinkedIn. I was applying 10 times more now because it's a lot more competitive and there's a lot of remote positions, and a lot of people did get impacted. They did lose their jobs. So I feel like it's a bit more competitive. I'm still using my alumni network. I'm still using the career platform. I'm still asking for advice. I am shifting my resume and cover letter to really represent me more, to make me stand out more. And Zoom preparation, even though I was zoomed out, was still really good. So recording yourself answering questions, recording yourself doing like phone interviews or mock interviews is really helpful, because you do have to make an impression through Zoom now, which is entirely different. So something my mom has always told me, and I've held closely, is to do what's best for you always. So when I told her I don't think I'm comfortable at this job anymore, she's like, all right, do what's best for you. I went and found a new job. Who this? Now I'm in a job that I love. I understood myself professionally, personally, and I understood that preparing for Zoom interviews is a little different. You gotta dress the part. This is literally what I wore to my Zoom interview. I realized it really matters what you wear from the shoulders up. Remote working can be a little exhausting sometimes, and that's something to kind of get used to and be prepared for, unless it's an in-person job. Remote training can be a little exhausting as well. It might be a little similar to school where you're watching presentations all day, but it's something to get used to and figure out, like I said, those hobbies and things outside of work. bonding with coworkers remotely has also been a challenge because, again, we're using Zoom. So these are just things to keep in mind when you're looking for positions and jobs in general. I wanted to put this quote as one of the closers is because it generally can take an average of 3 to 6 months for a college student to find employment. I guess that makes me average. I got a job probably 4 to 5 months after graduating, but I do want to note that it can take longer than that, and that's totally okay. My dad made me keep the collection of the no's because I learned and I grow from that, and I understood where I could improve. And so, all in all, if I still have you, because I can't see your faces, I want you all to take away these things, take risks, be intentional, be open, be mindful. Please remember to be nice to yourself. Please remember to love yourself. Be patient, network. That's really what I want y'all to do is network. Even if it starts with us on this panel. Know your worth. Don't compare your situation to others because you're going to see other people getting into positions like that. And like, that's totally fine. What's coming is coming for you. Put yourself out there and start somewhere because you got to start anywhere to get somewhere. Thank you so much. I have no idea if I was over time because I was going to rely on my notes to have the timer. So I'm hoping I have enough time for questions. If there were any questions in the chat, please feel free to let me know. Thank you. Oh, and you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one there.
We do have a few minutes for questions. Thanks, Surreal. You can raise your hand, you can type them in the chat box. So maybe I'll just start with one. I mean, do you have any specific tips and tricks for maintaining that connection with your colleagues over Zoom?
Yeah. Don't be scared. And that's weird because at first I was really scared because I'm like, I knew them in person, but now we're remote. So how do you bond? So, reaching out, checking to see, hey, how are you doing? Like bonding over the really boring meetings or bonding over the trainings that you have to go through, like relating to one another and reminding each other that you're not alone, because there was a lot of times where we called each other and would talk like, yo, like I'm really exhausted. Sometimes those who were comfortable were like, hey, would you mind doing a social distance lunch? There's this really cool spot over here. Another thing that I did, I actually hosted quite a few, I guess you could say socials. It's hard because you had to use Zoom, but we did use activities. So I made like a Jeopardy version for like my specific department and they loved it. But it's also like we have to make sure we manage our time and we're still getting work done. So that's, I guess, advice I would give in terms of how to maintain relationships and like connection with your coworkers. Just reach out because they might be feeling the same way that you are.
Wonderful. Yeah, we have a bunch of thank yous coming in the chat box here. So I think maybe people are waiting to talk to you in person, and the next step is to go into chat rooms. Now, everybody, you're going to get the opportunity to pick who you'd like to chat with. So you can pick myself, Tom,
Real quick,
Joanna.
I think there's a hand raised right now.
Oh, thank you. You're right. I'll call on, Shayna.
Hi, Cyril. Thank you so much for that great presentation. I just had a question. When you talked about how you thought that you got the position and you didn't, and your confidence was really knocked, can you talk more about like what you did to get your confidence back up? You talked about self-reflection, but I know when you're applying for jobs, there's a lot of rejection. So like, how did you just like keep your head up through that process?
I had conversations with people who I thought highly of, like that really kept my head up. My parents can probably speak to that. I have really close friends I spoke to, and my fur baby Twinkie. Sounds crazy, but she would listen to me and wouldn't say much back. However, really keeping my head up was that vision board, was having like, I'm a person who believes in manifestation. So whether I write it down and I say I'm gonna find a job within the next 6 months, like it all happened. I wrote a letter to my family, like during like prime pandemic where I couldn't go visit them and I was really still getting a ton of no's. I moved across the country, I risked everything. And I wrote down, I said, I think at that time I may or may not have had a job, but I wrote something about a job and like the position I'm in, and I ended up being promoted like 3 times in the old position, in the old job I had. And so I'm a really big person on manifesting and speaking it into existence. And like, you just have to believe in yourself and you have to understand that, like I said, what's meant for you is meant for you. it's gonna be weird because it's all gonna work out. And you're like, wow, that's crazy. Because 3 months ago, I thought I was gonna be, unemployed for such and such time. But it's really just about conversations, believing in yourself, and just you got to be persistent. I probably got like over 100 no's. I went to a ton of interviews, got a lot of no's, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not as cool as I was in college, but it all ended up working out. So
Thanks.
All right, any more raised hands? Any other questions? Or should we jump into breakout rooms? Hi, Shayna.
Hi. Welcome back, everyone.
Do we have everybody back yet?
Looks like we're close.
Okay, I'll just wait a minute before I go forward. What we're going to do next is just get a little debrief from each of the breakout rooms. And I'll ask each of the group leaders to share one unanswered question that they were discussing. Let me know, Maya, do we have everybody back? Okay, let's.
Looks like it, yeah.
It looks like it.
We'll go ahead. So maybe I'll start with Tom. He was in a session with me.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for the softball, Mike. So yeah, in our session, we're kind of, one of the things that sort of hung over it was how do you approach if you want to work remotely? And if you're applying for a position, when to bring it up? And how to figure out what an opportunity, a job's position on that is. It looks like this is just kind of all being hashed out now.
Okay, thank you for that. Joanna, you want to go next? About a minute. Oh, you're on mute.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. No, this was so sorry. It's such a privilege to be here. Banana Slug, Oaks. But no, this was one thing for that I mentioned was that in terms of like the remote learning that I learned from a lot of you is that everyone's still trying to figure out their way around. A lot of the people in my group were just recent graduates. So they're one thing that I mentioned is that it's very important to just network and putting themselves out there, reaching out people through emails, through LinkedIn, and not being shy on just reaching out to different organizations, people. So I hope that answered the question, right, Michael?
Yes, thank you. Wonderful advice. And Surreal, do you have any unanswered question from your room or something that stood out? I'll give you about a minute.
In terms of unanswered, I think everyone, like, I think the questions that I asked were answered, as well as vice versa. But I know I feel like something that was kind of showing up for people was basically not only like the fear of the unknown, like not only how do I get started, but like, how do I continue that? Like some people had a grasp of what role they see themselves in, like what the end all be all goal was, but it's like, I'm trying to figure out what next steps that is. And like Joanna said, like networking, and I'm a big advocate for putting yourself out there and reaching out to people who are in those roles and asking for advice. Because I think out of all the times that people may not have time for you, there's always that one person. And I let them know that a lot of the reason where I'm at now is because of alumni that I've worked with and got internships with. So everybody answered. And thank you everyone who's in my group. They're awesome.
Oh, thank you so much, Surreal. Why don't we just get a round of applause for Surreal, Tom, Joanna. It's been a real pleasure having everybody here today. And thanks for taking the time out of your busy days. And one piece of advice is use the Career Advice Network. We put a few links in the chat box there. You can find us on there. You can find us on LinkedIn. Please connect with us. We look forward to talking to you. So this was the first out of 6 sessions in this series. Thanks for being here today. And please join us for the next one. It's going to be called Interviewing 101. Our next session is 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, July 28th, 12 to 1 p.m. Pacific time. You're going to hear from some experienced recruiters as they share tips and strategies to ace your interview. We'll have Sarah Davidson, Cowell 19, Karen Zellers, Crown 19, Shane Hillers, Oaks 2012. So they'll be sharing tips and strategies to ace your interview. And with that, we'll end on time. One more thank you for all of our speakers and guests. Thanks everybody for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.